The course which I am going to handle is business research methods. So in the business research methods, we are going to see about the sampling design. Before that, we will see what is a sample. Sample is a from a large population. We are going to take a very small study, that is sample. For example, the best example is the blood test. From the whole body, if we want to do a blood test, we will not take the whole body blood and we will do. We will take a very small sample and we will do what are the up to the micro level we will test. So that is nothing but the sampling. So in the sampling, for the research report, we are going to study about the design. So define the population. So first of all, we have to define the population. Who are the people involved in the study, and what is their population, what is their universe, and so on. So the population sometimes might be fine, very well known, or sometimes it is not known, and so on. It is infinite, we can tell. So we have to define the population. We have to very well document whether it is a known population or unknown population, what is the universe, and so on. So depending upon that, we have to decide about the sampling method. There are two types of sampling. One is probability, the other one is non-probability. So in probability sampling, we are going to see about the simple random sampling, and stratified sampling, systematic sampling, and cluster sampling. In non-probability sampling, we are going to see about the convenience sampling, purposive sampling, quota sampling, and snowball sampling. So these are some of the sampling methods. In probability, we will very well know about what is the probable the outcome of the sample. In non-probability sampling, sometimes we will not know what is the probability, and but it is exactly a qualitative sampling only. And then from that, we have to determine the sample design. What will be the sample design? And from the sample design, we have to develop the sampling frame. What is the framework for the study, and how the sampling has to be done, and how it will work out, and so on. And finally, we have to execute the plan. We have to finally mention what is the population, or whether it is probability or non-probability. In that, what is the sampling method we have applied, and from that we have to determine about the sample design, and from that we have to develop the sampling frame, and finally we have to execute the plan in the form of the methodology which we are going to adopt for the particular sample. And the next one is steps in sampling, defining the target population. So we have to very well define who will be the target population. For example, you are going to study about the users of two-wheelers. From that, we have to decide about the target population, whether people who are employed or people who are not employed. Non-employed means college students and so on, who are undergoing the study and who have achieved, who has got the license. So we have to be very specific about the population which we are going to study about. Then only we can, and then from that only we can very well define about the demographic, from the demographic details, whether they are married or unmarried, what is the that is how many users, and for what is the purpose of their using, whether they are spoiling the environment or so on, pollution and so on. So many things we can derive from the study. But next one is choosing the sampling unit. We have to very well determine what is the sampling unit, how many people will be studied, whether they are arts college, or whether they are engineering college, or professional like medical students and so on. We have to exactly design the choose a sampling unit. Then only we can come out with the conclusion about the purpose of the study. Next one is selecting the sampling frame. Like earlier we saw about what is the sample design. In that sample design, what we are going to apply and how we are going to apply, everything we will decide in the sampling frame. And the sampling frame is a blueprint for what is the sample which we are going to study, how we are going to study, what are the tools which we are going to use, and what are the analysis which we are going to use. From that analysis, what we are going to derive, and so many things will be there in the sampling frame. And decide on the sampling method, whether it is a probability sampling or non-probability sampling. If it is probability, which is sampling which we are going to study. If it is non-probability, what is the sampling which we are going to study, and so on. Next one, determining the sample size. We have to determine by deriving through the formula what is the sample size, because there will be n number of respondents. We can't study the whole universe, so that only we have gone for the sample. So what is the sample size which we are going to study is also very well derived from the formula, and we have to exactly determine the sample size. From that sample size we have to decide whether every data is possible for analysis, is there is any data rejected, and so on. And then draw the sample. You have to draw the sample, who will be the, whether employed or non-employed, and so many categories are there, students, housewives, and so many categories have to be drawn through the sample. And then finally you have to go for a pilot study. Pilot study is very, very important. From the pilot study only we can decide about the limitations, or what are the bias, if there is any biased questions or anything which want to eliminate, and so on. So pilot study will be very useful. After pilot study only we can go for the Cronbach's alpha test about the validity of the questionnaire, whether the question is valid for our study, and whether it is worth, or whether any changes has to be incorporated in the questionnaire, and so on. And finally we have to collect the data. So data collection is very, very important. In this data collection, whether we have to adopt the questionnaire or interview schedule, or through observation, or what are the methods which we are going to adopt. If there are literate respondents, we have to go for the questionnaire. If they are illiterate respondents, we have to go for the interview schedule. If we want to sometimes observe, we have to observe, or through telephonic conversation also we can adopt. So collection of data has been, whether it is nowadays people are using Google Forms instead of collecting the data through the questionnaire, and so on. So they very well used Google format, so that it will be very used. And finally we have to check for the bias, if there is any personal bias, or if there is any errors, so that it can be rectified at the early stage itself. So these are some of the steps in the sampling, and all these steps has to be followed. It should be in a systematic way, then only it is a research report. And if it is not in a systematic way, it will not fulfill the purpose for which it has been formulated. So this is a part of a research report, and it will be very useful for any researchers who are who are studying the research. And we can easily tell the sampling is a ready reckoner for any researcher. Thank you.